was 1929.
Run, come see.
I remember that day pretty well, 1929.
Run, come see Jerusalem.
Right then there was talking about a storm in our island.
Run, come see.
My God, what a beautiful morning that was talking about a storm in our island.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasure to be with you. Thank you for tuning in to ZNS Bahamas and for joining us here on The Exchange. My guest this evening is a very special Bahamian who's done some great things. He happens to also be my former boss, and now he's in the hot seat. I'm talking about Dr. Leon Higgs, former president of the College of the Bahamas, where he served from 1998 to 2004. He also headed the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute and was an assistant general manager with Water and Sewage, among many other very interesting careers and jobs that you've held over the course of your life. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good to have you with me.
It's good to be here.
Now, you are a native of
South Andros.
South Andros. You're an Androsian.
Yes, I am.
And I spent a little bit of time in Andros as a boy when my mother was the principal of North Andros High School. But I've had the opportunity to go down to South Andros, and I like it a lot. It's a lovely place. Still very quiet, still very simple. Doesn't seem as if it's changed much over the last 30, 40 years, except, I guess, with some infrastructure.
Well, with some of the, infrastructure, it's changed a little, but you know what? It's not a whole lot of difference between now and when I lived there.
Yeah. So take us back there. Take us back to, because some great Bahamians have come from Andros and some great Bahamians have come from South Andros.
Yes.
Tell us about your childhood, about your early life in South Andros.
Okay.
How do you get from there to college president? That's where I want to go.
It'll take us all night
Yeah.
to
We have 48 minutes.
But I was born in Deep Creek, South Andros. Deep Creek is...
North or south of
That's
Kemps Bay?
south of Kemps Bay. I was born in Deep Creek. My parents originally came from Black Point, Andros. My grandparents migrated just across the creek to Deep Creek, and that is where I was born. Spent my early years with my mother and grandmother, but more with my grandmother than my mother for a while.
Okay.
And then after that, my folks built a home in Johnson Bay, and we moved to Johnson Bay across the creek again.
All right. Okay.
And I went to school in Kemps Bay. But I started school at the Seventh Adventist school in Kemps Bay. Stayed until for about 2-3 years, and then transferred into the public school and stayed until I was about 16. Started while going to school there. In those days, we did what they called the school leaving certificate and the BJCs, and passed my BJCs at 14, and believe it or not, started teaching.
Wow. What year would that have been? The BJCs when you started, those are 14.
That would have been around 1960 or so.
Okay.
That would have been around 1960.
All right, okay. Now, was South Andros a place with a large Adventist community, or how is it divided in terms of faiths?
A very, very large Adventist community. As a matter of fact, if you were to go to almost any Adventist church here in the city, you would find somebody either who was born in South Andros or descended from South Andros. In the day when I was a boy in South Andros, we had a school in Black Point, we had a school in Kemps Bay, and there was a small school in Pleasant Bay, so we had 3 schools. And we had churches in all of those communities.
Now, I remember being a student in North Andros, and this was much later than you went to school, obviously. This was in the 70s. And I remember going to Nicholstown Primary, and that was it felt like it was just a room, on the beach. And I remember sea grape branch, one of the branches of the sea grape tree, coming into the classroom window, and the water was right there. It was a beautiful scene, but a very modest type of setting.
But it was a room. Where I went to school, both of the places I went to school, we went to one-room school. All the classes were all-age school. All the classes were in that room. When we divided for our classes, sometimes classes were held under the grape tree. But what's interesting in that modest environment, learning took place. Learning took place, and if you would, a lot of people came out of that setting, and I would believe if we look at the whole Bahamas, especially the Family Islands, you would find that that kind of scenery was duplicated all over the Bahamas. That's the way life was back then.
What was the view, the vision of education that your parents held, that the parents of the kids your age held? What was their view of the role of education, of the place of the school and of the teacher, and what they expected of you in terms of how it would affect you and the chances it would give you in life?
Well, number one, the teacher was supreme. Whatever the teacher said, that's what it was.
Did you have black Bahamian teachers, white Bahamian teachers, or did you have expats, British?
No, I had black Bahamian. Well, I had a combination of black Bahamian teachers, and I also had a Jamaican teacher, Mr. Ruddock. A lot of people may know of Mr. Ruddock. He taught us, and he was Jamaican in South Andros. Mr. Butler and Mr. Bullard. Okay. L.G. Bullard and Allington Butler. Now, Allington, every time I talk, he is the one that I remember very fondly, because it was him that turned me on to learning. And so I'm extremely grateful to him, because when he came to South Andros, I wasn't doing very well at that point in time. But he used to have classes with us in the evenings. As a matter of fact, what he did was he told us that we were going to put on a performance of one of Shakespeare's plays.
Okay.
And he had us going through the play and reading and pretending as if when he knew that was only because of the examination.
Which one did you do? Do you remember which play it was?
We did Midsummer's Night Train.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
All right.
And the year he left, he stayed for a year, but the year he left, he gave me a book, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, which was the very first book that I owned personally.
Wow.
As the student who had advanced or improved the most that year.
You still have the book?
No, I don't. I don't. And then I came to Nassau, and he tutored me with my math classes, because when I moved to Nassau, I was living right around the corner from him. So in terms of teachers, he stands out, and we've built up a relationship over the years. But going back to your original question, our parents expected us to do well. I know my mother, she didn't understand what I was doing in class, but she wanted to know, did you do your homework? How are you doing on your exams? And I remember when we did the BJCSE exams, I got 4 subjects the first time around. And I think some of the other guys got 5. And
she wasn't happy with you.
Oh man, she read me the right off. How in the world could you get 4 and the other fellows together get 5?
I mean, that's so interesting. We really talk a lot today about the role of parents being involved, going over homework with children, reading to your children. What I find so interesting is that there's a generation of Bahamians, yourself and others even before you and after, whose parents and grandparents were semi-literate, illiterate, unschooled, but they really emphasized learning. And even if they couldn't actually understand what you put on that paper,
but they still,
you knew you needed, your behind would be on the line if you didn't do the work.
If you didn't. And of course, they also depended on the teachers, because in those communities, the teachers were an integral part of the community. They knew the parents, they knew the families, they became a part of the small community. So the teacher, you better not have a teacher say you were not doing your work, or you were not improving as well as you should have, or you were playing the fool in class, because you get a tanning in school and you get one at home too.
Was it just the smallness of the communities that allowed for that kind of organic relationship between school and home, where the accessibility have we lost some of that power of the teacher, the reinforcement, because the community, the society is too large now? Is that it?
I believe the smallness had something to do with it. Remember, in those days, we really didn't have very many distractions. There was no cable television, the telephone was out, the radio was this big thing with the batteries, So really it was the family, the school, and the church. And so with that simplicity of life, it was much more easier to keep
focus.
Control and focus on what it is you were doing as a student and what your children were doing.
We live in an age of distraction, don't we?
Yeah, there were lots of distractions now, which we didn't have. Plus, the parents and grandparents and aunts and cousins, everybody took responsibility for everybody else's children.
There was a support network. There was
the support network.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Dr. Leon Higgs, former president of the college and currently director of the Higher Education and Lifelong Learning Department at the Ministry of Education. We'll be back after these messages. We're here with Dr. Leon Higgs, former president of the college and currently director of Higher Education and Lifelong Learning at the Ministry of Education. We'll be talking about his life, about your upbringing. And we started talking about the place of the teacher in our society and the village-like approach to rearing, which we enjoyed at one point in our nation's history, which we seem to have gone away from. But I guess one of the reasons I asked you the question about the expectations your parents had was we seem today to live in a time when the average Bahamian doesn't really appreciate the value of education. In my view, doesn't really see it as necessary to his survival, the key to his upward mobility. Do you agree with that?
I believe many Bahamians do not see education as the key, and this could be probably because of their upbringing. But on the other hand, because sometimes I have an opportunity to interact with some of the parents in the school system as well as some of the children, I believe that there are many more Bahamians who realize the importance of education in their life.
Okay, let me ask this. Yeah, go on.
I believe that is so, but I think what's happening in our case is that a lot of times the people we hear about and the people we see and the people that are being brought into the spotlight are those people who are not producing, are those people who are not doing well. And the children and the parents who are doing well, we seem in a lot of cases to ignore them. And I think we need to change that around so even some of the people who are not doing well would start to do well because they would know, hey, there are a lot of other people that are doing well and it's probably just me that's playing the fool.
All right, I take your point, but let's put it this way. It feels like to me that if you can excel and be successful as you have in life with so little. I had Dr. Davidson Hepburn on his program. He's 80 years old, and he talks about going to school at a time when they had slates, and so if in a situation where your parents or grandparents have not been schooled, where you have none of the resources that are available to you today, but you can still excel, and today you're not, so many are not. I can't believe it's because of the quality of the classroom, the access to materials. It's about motivation. And people are not motivated. They don't believe they need it to get a job, to get by, to make it.
Well, I think the Bahamas, is, we are an anomaly, I believe, compared to some of the other places.
Sure.
Because, for example, when you can go just out East Bay Street and cross the way, and you can earn $70 as a pool man. I mean, $70,000 as a pool man or as a waiter or what have you, then why education?
Right.
So I think we as leaders in our community might have to bear some of the responsibility for that. Because you really, and I know I'm going to get slaughtered for this, but you really do not need to be educated in the Bahamas to do well. And that's unfortunate.
Do well in terms of income.
As well as in terms of income, but in terms of quality of life, in terms of an appreciation for life and all that it has to offer, then that's something else.
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean,
that's something else.
I agree, and I think that's kind of the road we went down, and that's the price we've paid. We have been able for some time, for decades, many people to enjoy a certain quality of living through their income, but those opportunities are shrinking now. Tourism industry is not as robust as it used to be.
This is true.
More people are unemployed, and now we're also seeing the social price of a community that didn't take education and learning and cultivation seriously.
Yeah.
You don't think?
Yeah. I think that is what's happening. So now we have to now start moving away from that, because again, the whole world economy does not lend itself to all that money flowing through as it used to anymore.
Right.
So you would need people who can think, you would need people who can function in the Bahamas as well as internationally. You need world citizens. And to become a world citizen, you have to be educated.
You have to be willing to read.
You have to be willing to read.
You know, and I think that too is I think it also has something to do with our crime, with the level of violence in the society.
Yes, I do not believe you would find many people who have completed COB in Fox Hill. I don't have any statistics, but I would think you'd find very few people.
I agree with you.
They have other things to do.
Yeah.
They have other things to do. A lot of the folks who you would find in Fox Hill would be folks who are marginally literate, in a lot of cases completely illiterate, who really can't find anything to do or can't understand or comprehend that there is a better way of life, because they do not have the other survival skills that they need to survive in an economy such as ours.
Totally. Let's talk about now your career beyond South Andres. How did you come to get a doctorate? And of course, you've also lived and worked abroad. Tell us a bit about those experiences.
Okay. When we moved from South Andres my family moved here. Before I did, I stayed for an extra year with my grandmother. Then I moved to Nassau.
How did they make a living, by the way? How did your family live?
My mother was the head janitress at Claridge Primary.
I mean, before coming to Nassau.
Oh, before.
How did
they went in the field, man.
Okay.
They
were self-sufficient. They grew their food.
They grew their own food. We fish. I could remember sometimes my mother, she would cook the grits or rice and send me out to fish. And if I didn't get any fish,
you out there fishing?
If I didn't catch anything, then we didn't have what they call any relish.
Wow.
And so you go and you get nice dry coconut, you grate it, you squeeze the milk out, and you put the milk over your grits.
No. You described for me you catching the fish now. You were on the rock or you were on the boat?
On the rock.
Okay.
When I got older, around 13, 14, I used to use my grandfather's boat.
All right.
Go in the channel and grunts and snappers.
What's the best thing you caught on the rock?
Gray snapper.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long?
But that big.
That ain't bad. How old are you? You 10, 11, 12?
Oh no, I started fishing from about 6 or so.
Really? So you must have been able to swim because you're on the rocks now.
No.
You couldn't swim?
I learned to swim in a swimming pool in Lincoln.
No, you're joking. You're joking? Your parents put you on the rock out there and you could swim?
Oh, come on.
They can't just throw you in the water. They just throw you in the water, a couple times.
No, my brother swam like a fish.
Older than you?
No,
younger.
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
But I learned to swim in a swimming pool in Lincoln, Nebraska.
That was funny. An island boy, you're supposed to be swimming,
But I love to fish. I love to fish. I've
never caught a fish in my life.
Really?
Never caught a fish. Listen, the only fish I ever catch, I put the window screen in a pond. Throw some dry bread and catch the fish like that. No, I never caught a fish in my life.
I'm going to take you fishing with me sometime.
I'd love to.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Wow, that's
As a matter of fact, so much so that when we moved to California, a group of friends of mine who were at Loma Linda University the same time as I did. Every weekend, like on Saturday night, we'd go out Saturday night and come back Sunday night. We go out on the Pacific and fish for rock cards.
Wow. Okay, now go back. Tell us how you ended up at the University of Nebraska. That's where you did your undergrad, right?
Union College.
Oh, Union College.
The PhD is from the University of Nebraska.
Okay. Well, tell us about your...
What I did was came to Nassau, and the first summer I came, I started to work right on Wolf Road at William Shea's, the Chinese place. I worked there for a week, and Friday afternoon came, and I told him I wasn't coming in on Saturday the next day because I go to church on Saturday, and he said, don't come back. So that was the end of that. Went to the hospital, worked in, I think, surgical supplies at the hospital for the summer, and then the Nassau Technical School, they opened their commercial classes.
Where was that located?
That was in Oaksfield, I think, where C.C. Sweeting is.
Okay.
And that was in '64. Went there for a year, did the commercial program, and started to worked at Nassau Beach and Paradise Island, but that wasn't enough for me. I also did night classes while working, and in '68 I went to the United States at 20, finished high school because I didn't have the GCEs, and to get into an American college university you needed a high school diploma.
Right.
So I went to the States, finished high school at a boarding school in Alabama, and went on to Union College in Lincoln, Nebraska for 4 years. Completed that, went to Northern Illinois University, did my master's degree, came home and taught for a bit, came home in '74, worked at Nassau Technical, and then it was amalgamated into the College of the Bahamas, so I was in that first group of faculty members of the College of the Bahamas.
All right, we're going to stick a pin there. We're going to come back. We're coming to a break, and we'll get back to your story in a bit, but we want to give folks the quote of note for the day. Obviously, the issue of gambling is a hot topic in the country today, and we'll pick Dr. Higgs' brain on that as well. But our quote is from Myron Moxie, someone I went to the College of the Bahamas with, very proud of. He's pastor of Bahamas Harvest Church, and he's quoted today in the Daily Tribune. And the quote says, "How pretentious are these unscrupulous organized crime bosses to act as though they are interested in the betterment of our society, bragging about the money they have contributed while all along raping us of our moral virtue and perpetuating criminal activity. Please, one cannot on the one hand commit a crime with such arrogance, blatantly showing contempt and disrespect for our laws, and then on the other claim to be sincerely interested in the development of our nation and the common good of the people. They are criminals, plain and simple, and should not be applauded for attempting to bribe our society. Instead, they should be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." That is Mario Moxie, pastor of Bahamas Harvest, there on Prince Charles. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back after these messages.
Daniel Creek.
Run, come see.
With mothers and children on board, and the Ethel was bound for Staniel Creek.
Run, come see. Jerusalem.
My God, then the myrtle was bound for Fresh Creek.
Run, come see.
My God, what a beautiful morning, then the myrtle was bound for Fresh Creek.
Run, come see. Jerusalem.
My God, Pretoria was out on the ocean.
Run, come see.
Dashing from side to
Run,
side
see.
from where Pretoria was out on the ocean.
Run, come see. Jerusalem.
Right then when the big sea bill up in the northwest.
Run, come see.
Then children come holding on to mothers when the big sea bill up in the northwest.
Run, come see. Jerusalem.
My God, when the first sea hit the Pretoria.
Run, come see.
Then mothers
Run,
come
see.
holding on to children when the first sea hit the Pretoria.
Run, come see. Jerusalem.
My God, then the center head down but to the bottom.
Run, come see.
Then the captain come grabbing for the tiller when the center head down but to the bottom.
Run, come see. Jerusalem.
My God, it was 33 souls on the water.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sticking with us here. Having a fascinating conversation with Dr. Leon Higgs. former president of the College of the Bahamas, and currently director of higher education and lifelong learning at the Ministry of Education. He's been telling us some of his stories, catching gray snapper on the rock down there in St. Andrews, and now telling us about his journey, his education. Now, you lived in some interesting times. You came to New Providence to study and work before majority rule. You were born into a Bahamas where we were a colony, a Bahamas where women didn't have the right to vote. You were born into a Bahamas where black people did not really control the direction and destiny of this country. You've seen a lot change. Yes. According to you, you came back from college to a Bahamas that was independent. Tell me about what was that like? I mean, how did that affect your own formation and your own identity, your own expectations for your life, your own ideas about your country? Seeing that transition, just take 64 to 74, and then go into the United States of America, which is also going through a lot of changes in the 60s. What was that like?
Well, before Mr. Pinlin became the Prime Minister, I didn't know that it was possible for people like me to go to college. And I'm not being political now. I'm just saying the way it was. I didn't know that that was possible. And then he came to power, and he started giving scholarships and saying, hey, you can go, or we wanted all of us to go, who wanted to go. And that's where I first realized, hey, there's something better out there for me. And I took the opportunity. Now, in terms of independence, I could remember I was sitting in the recreation room in my dormitory in Lincoln, Nebraska. I think it was in 1973. And it was on either NBC or one of those, and they were talking about the Bahamas independence. And I saw, even now I get emotional.
Wow.
I saw the Union Jack coming down.
You saw it on television?
It was on.
Wow.
I saw it on television. I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and watched that. And I just felt, you started to shiver, and you started to, tears just started coming down. It was a wonderful time. I think it was a wonderful time for us in a lot of ways. I believe everyone, or all people, have the right to determine their destiny. And here was an opportunity for us as Bahamians, all Bahamians, to determine the direction that we want this country to go in. Now, in the process of doing that, some mistakes were made. Yeah. But still, I think that we had that opportunity to do that, and to an extent we've been doing that, even though, and I think in the process of growing, any country would make mistakes.
I like to ask this question of people. You think we did the right thing? Should we have remained? What if we had remained? It's better to to have tried to go our own way than to stay a colony of the British?
What did we have to gain by staying with the British? I don't see the benefits of staying with the British, really. It gave us an opportunity to determine how we wanted to live as a people, to make some of our laws for ourselves and determine how we should be governed. Why should we allow the British to determine for us how we should live or how we should be governed?
Now, what was your experience like as a black man seeking education in Nebraska in the 60s and early 70s?
Nebraska was good for me. Nebraska was good to me. I'm going to say something that again may not be politically correct, but the United States was good to me. My career exploded in the United States. I was on top of my game in the United States. So I really don't have any complaints. Now, the school I went to was a predominantly Caucasian school. It was a church-related school, but predominantly Caucasian. And my view is whether you belong to a church group or not, there are certain biases as human beings we all have. So even though it was a church-related school, there were some issues, but not overt issues to prevent me from succeeding. As a matter of fact, being from outside of North America was a plus. Because a lot of the white Americans, I say sometimes to sort of soothe their own consciences, they saw us from the Caribbean and part of Africa as special or different.
Different, right. And they didn't have those anxieties that they did about their own citizens.
About their own
black
citizens.
Yeah. I can attest to that as well.
You know, on one hand, that's repulsive because these people are your citizens,
Right,
and
right.
they deserve to be treated
Yes.
with dignity. And I do not take kindly to you putting me above them to make you feel good. Plus, at that point in time, all the literature on black literature, I was reading and absorbing all that.
Were you in the United States at the time of Martin Luther King's assassination?
No. I was night Martin Luther was shot. I was it was then called Paradise Island in Lowe's Hotel as a cashier in the dining room that day. I remember that too. But I went shortly after.
Okay, so what did you study? What were your degrees in?
Oh, my bachelor degree was in business education. It's a combination of business and education because I wanted to teach. When I went to the university, I told my professor I wanted to do business, but I also wanted to teach. And so I wanted to do 2 degrees. And he said, why do 2 degrees? Just do the business education. So, and I did the student teaching and what have you. And
Master's?
the master's degree was the same, but more with a marketing slant.
Okay.
And
the doctorate?
The doctorate was in administration of higher education.
Okay.
Again, there was the business with the human resources organization behavior.
And you worked in the States, correct?
Yeah, administration of higher education and curriculum development.
And you've worked in higher education
I
in the
worked in
United States?
higher education. I headed the business department at Oakwood University for 5 years. I headed the business program at Riverside Community College for 3 years, and I was at San Bernardino Valley College in California as the executive vice president for 2 years. And I also was assistant professor of business at Loma Linda University in Riverside.
So your time at the College of the Bahamas from 98 to 2004 as president, as you look back at it, what about that period and the work that you did are you most proud of?
As I look back on that period, when we went to the College of the Bahamas, I think there were about either 1 or 2 bachelor degree programs. Within that 6-year period, we had a number of bachelor degree programs that came on stream. Apart from the bachelor degree programs, a number of articulation agreements as well as master's programs were started in conjunction with other universities. And the whole setting up the schools, the various schools within the college, getting the college on the organizational structure in preparation for university status was something that I thought we did well with, because that was not in place when we got to the college.
And the tuition increased, the first tuition increase in some time. That took place under you, correct?
I think that, yeah.
And the scholarship program as well.
The scholarship
to accompany
program.
that. The endowment.
The endowment, yes. While we were at the College of the Bahamas, we completed the $5 million for the scholarship funding. Of course, that did not start under me, but it was completed under me. The library, we had done quite a bit of work on getting the library ready, working with Harry Moore and some of the people from Life at Key. So there was some I think some good things happened during those years.
What do you think is the key to, because there's a lot of complaints and concerns about the funding of the college, the funding sources of the college. Is the answer to raise the tuition at the college? Is the answer for the government to increase its support? Is the answer for community and alumni and philanthropists to increase their support of the college? How do we get the college to grow? From a financial standpoint.
From a financial standpoint, I don't think the tuition should be increased. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those people who believe that every Bahamian who qualifies to go to the college should be able to go, at least for the first degree.
Free.
Free. Mm-hmm. I would say that the government to increase its subvention. I believe we need to get into the community and generate more funding from the community. I also believe that our professors must be encouraged to do projects and research projects which will generate some income for them as well as the institution. A lot of major institutions, they get a lot of funding as a result of research projects, special projects that the professors are involved in. So I see that as another means of
revenue.
And of course, here's something that may seem a little controversial, but tack on 10 cents per every so many dollars to all the real property
Taxation.
for education.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Dr. Leon Higgs, former president of the College of the Bahamas and director of higher education and lifelong learning at the Ministry of Education. We're having an interesting conversation. We'll be back for our last segment after these messages. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Dr. Leon Higgs, former president of the College of the Bahamas. Sir, we've been talking about COB. Let's continue with that. The college has been in transition to university now
Forever.
forever. It feels like a decade. What's wrong? What's the problem? Why aren't we there yet? What is still to be done, if anything?
I believe it's the political will. If the government wants to do it, it can. And it will not become the University of the Bahamas until we get a government that decides that it wants it to become the University of the Bahamas. Now, to go along with that though, there's some preparation that must be done. We have to look at our teaching faculty. We have the library resources already in place. I'm not certain about the classrooms because I've not been in any of the classrooms for a while, but I know the library and research facility is in place. So we need to just go ahead and do it. It's going to cost money, okay? We know that. But in terms of the benefit that a university brings to a community, from a research standpoint, the whole learning, the whole, I believe the government should be using that institution, the faculty members at that institution to inform the policies that are being made, We're
underutilized in that way, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. I mean, we are a regional leader in a number of different ways, but one of the things that strikes me as odd is that we have almost no international students. Why aren't we able to attract people from around the world to study at the College of the Bahamas? I mean, I know that universities bring down students from time to time and they do research at Jurais, or they come to the college for a time, but it just doesn't seem systematic and ongoing and big enough. And then there's the people from the region, they come to the UE campus to study tourism management, but the college itself doesn't seem to be drawing in.
But again, the college in itself cannot draw international students.
Why?
The leadership of the college has to make a resolve that it is going to recruit international students and go out and do it, and do it systematically. I can assure you, if the leadership does that, you will get the international students, because the Bahamas is a prime place for people to visit. We get millions of visitors coming here every year. If we put in place some of the kinds of programs, for example, I can see programs in marine sciences, international students being attracted to those kinds of programs. I believe you have a small island sustainable program. I can see international students from throughout the world in small island states being attracted to such a program. But we have to go out and sell it, and we have to go out and recruit them like anything else, and put in place the facilities to accommodate them once they're here. I just don't believe that we have
made
it a priority.
Let's talk about some of the issues that we are facing now as a country. I'd love to get your thoughts on them. Obviously, the matter of gambling is paramount today in terms of the public discourse. What's your take on this? Should Bahamians be allowed to own casinos? Should Bahamians be allowed to enter casinos and place wagers? Should the numbers houses be legalized?
Now you're trying to get me in trouble.
Absolutely. Join me.
Let me. I can answer that in almost one sentence for you. No one, absolutely no one, should be able to come into the Bahamas and have rights and privileges that Bahamians do not have.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. If other people can come here and enjoy those benefits, then it's almost ludicrous to say that the nationals of your country, I mean, you open up certain avenues whereby other people can come in and earn and generate profit and income, and your people cannot. That's craziness.
Now, I see what you're saying as far as ownership of the casinos is concerned, but I guess the critics would say they don't see gambling as a benefit. They see gambling as a harmful, immoral behavior. And so what we are doing is protecting our people, not denying our people any privilege.
Yeah, but the state can't be big brother to you and me. We're adults. And let me get this straight. I'm not promoting gambling. I do not gamble. I will not go and promote it to anybody. But what I'm saying is, and gambling is legal in the Bahamas, okay? You can go across Paradise Island and gamble all you want to. I mean, if you're not a Bahamian. If you're not a Bahamian. So it's legal in the Bahamas. All I'm saying is that the state cannot say to adults that you cannot do. The state cannot legislate morality. That is something that you and me and everybody else has to decide for ourselves. And this whole idea of the state being the big brother who has to protect these little children is craziness. No, I don't buy that.
Okay, what do you say to this issue of taxation? Government is unable to finance all the work that it needs to do. It's borrowing a great deal to meet the deficit, to pay civil servant taxes, to repair roads, build new roads, put in pipes and infrastructure to docks and airports, all the rest of it. What should the government do to improve its revenue base as far as taxation is concerned? Do you support the introduction of a value-added tax or a sales tax? Do you support income tax? What are we not getting right here?
If you look at most modern countries, income taxes is a given. It's the reality. We cannot survive on customs duty. Number one, it's not fair because only some people are paying it. But if you have income tax, it's fair. It's a more fairer way of sustaining your economy by having the income tax within your country. Now, I know it's something that Bahamians do not like to hear, and probably if I were a politician, I may not be saying this. But the truth of the matter is, I think it's only a matter of time.
But don't we already have a species of it already through national insurance? Aren't you already taking money out of my salary every month and putting it in national insurance? Oh yes, only up to a certain percentage, but you're taxing my income. Yes, I don't necessarily draw. I have never claimed national insurance in my working life.
No, have I?
But I have, by the fact that you have taxed me, you have enabled the state to provide care and support for unemployed people, for the sick, et cetera, et cetera. right?
But,
I don't have a problem with that.
this is
I don't have a
true.
problem with that. That's a part of what makes us a
Yeah.
commonwealth.
Yeah.
I need to put into the system. I might take out, I might not. But I at least I help someone else make it.
I suppose, though, some people may say to you, well, at least when I'm old, I can get a pension or what have you. For most of us, that wouldn't be able to sustain us anyhow in terms of the
What it
lifestyle.
would be, yeah.
You know, but for some people, they look forward to that. Whereas with the income tax, they do not see the whole picture.
I actually think Bahamians would be more demanding of their government if they saw a line item on their pay stub for
So,
income tax.
probably.
They would be more demanding. They'd be like, man, you taking 10% from me? I want to see some results. You don't think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we'd have a
I
more
think
mindful
so.
society. Before
so.
we go, I have to ask you, you've raised 4 sons.
Yeah.
And we're having quite a lot of challenges in our country today with our young men. Obviously, they're the ones who are the main victims of and perpetrators of violent crime. What are some of the gems of wisdom that you have acquired over these years of trying to bring 4 young men to manhood in this world of ours?
To love them unconditionally. Children need to know that they're safe. If they know they're safe, it gives them an opportunity to grow and to flourish, to be consistent. I was always firm with them, no nonsense, but I was consistent with it, and they knew I loved them. I don't think a day went by I didn't hug my boys. And they knew that was for real. So even when I disciplined them, they knew that Daddy still loved them. I was very much involved in their lives. We did things together. We went to church together. I never sent the boys to church. There were many Sabbaths I did not feel like going, and I wouldn't have gone if I didn't have them. That's the truth.
Yes.
But I realized that I couldn't say to them, go to church and I'm staying at home sleeping. Because as soon as they got old enough to stop going, they would have stopped. Luckily, they all, as far as I know, are still going, and now they're men on their own. By being involved in their lives, we did things together, we took vacations together, we traveled together. When they came home from school, I wanted to know, as a matter of fact, I remember Lavard, my 3rd son, he went to Bahamas Academy, and every day I would pick him up and I said, well, what you did in school today? He was in the 11th, 12th grade, big boy. And one day he said to me, you know, Pops, you're the only parent I think that asks a student what they did in school, The other kids, their parents don't check for them.
What is the proudest moment in a father's life? Let me try to read it right. For a father, what is that proudest moment in his son's life? Which moment in your son's life gives you the most pride?
Which moment in his life? I suppose when I saw my son walk down the aisle and his bride was such a nice lady, well, 2 of them really. It was really, really heartwarming to see them do that. And for me, the next moment was holding my grandkids.
How many grandkids do you have now?
5.
5.
5.
Is the man-making gene continue? Are they all boys, or you have some
No,
daughters?
I have 2 granddaughters and 3 grandsons.
Okay,
So
not bad.
he's mixing it up.
Not bad,
He's
not
mixing
bad.
it up.
I have only given my father grandsons.
Grandsons. Yeah. No, it's but you have to stick with the kids. You have to be involved. For me, the boys, even through high school, up to high school, I even chose the courses of study that they were going to take because some of them studied in the United States and they were able to choose.
Dr. Leon Higgs, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to speak to you today. And the nation needs to hear your voice. I'm very happy that I gave you this opportunity. I hope that you'll come back very soon to continue the conversation. We didn't touch on half of the stuff I was hoping we'd get to.
Time just flew.
We'll have another chance, I hope, God's willing. Thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Leon Higgs, former president of the college and director of higher education at the college, at the Ministry of Education. Good night.
was 1929.
Run, come see.
I remember that day pretty well, 1929.
Run, come see Jerusalem.
Right then there was talking about a storm in an island.
Run, come